Are you perpetually single? Do you want to improve your dating skills? Enter a robot, a chatbot, a dating simulator. Scientists are testing whether practicing romance with an AI could help you break your lonely heart cycle, maybe help you on your flirting, your vulnerability, even deal with rejection. I am here with psychology professor at the University of Quebec in Montreal, Ghayda Hassan, who has worked on this. Ghayda, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David.
I gotta say, this sounds like a mix between therapy and maybe like a rehearsal stage for romance. What made you think, let's test out a dating simulator? This is what the world needs right now.
It was really a crazy idea. I know it was a pilot. Just let's say, we try to say let's do it because a lot of people that are having some dating difficulties are going a lot online, and there is an observed increased isolation from the social space. So we were like, let's try something where it can reach people where they are, which is the online environment. And we want to have some sort of control and pilot what an intervention kind of would look like. And so we just came with the idea of why don't we talk about AI for the betterment of humanity. So why don't we just try to do something about it? And this is how it all started.
For whom would this be the target audience? Side note, my lovely girlfriend has a strange brain disorder where she thinks dating me is okay, but if she ever leaves me, I'm going to need something like this. So I'm listening. Who is this designed for?
Well, it was really designed for any person who is suffering from dating difficulties. So whether that person had rejections in the past or never had serious dating, had difficulty and dissatisfaction in intimate relationships. So it was really directed at all that. Now, of course, we pilot, like we did a pilot, right? We wanted really to test the experiment. And so that was the main, let's say, audience for that experiment.
I'm a little more comfortable in my own skin now, but I remember being 27, freshly separated from my ex and having to date, and the anxiety of it. Like, I would be shaking going into these dates. Is that someone this could be good for? Someone who's really anxious, doesn't know what to say, and might like a little practice?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Or someone who's had relationships in the past and now they're struggling having relationship in a new way, in a new world, like in a new way of doing relationships. And I think it's also, there's this other issue as well, is that I don't know why, for some reason, maybe this is something in this modern world of ours, but there's like a very strong sensitivity to rejection. So it's also for people who have difficulty dealing with rejection, have difficulty dealing with somebody telling them, well, you know what, you're a nice guy, but no.
So how can things like this help us deal with rejection? Honestly, it's not so far-fetched. If you're scared of public speaking, you might take a course like Toastmasters and deal with your feelings of the audience rejecting you. It's not so different from something like that. So how can this help us?
So I think it was just we wanted to, it was an adventure for us as well. We wanted to try and see how it could. So the way we imagined it is that we actually created a chatbot with my colleague David from UQAM, from the sexology department, and colleagues who are quite well versed into tech and AI world. And we created a chatbot pretty much like what would it look like in dating apps. And the idea was really to invite participants. In the beginning, we were hoping like maybe 5 people will accept to participate in the experiment. But we actually had quite a number of people, of men who wanted to participate in the experiment. And it was like heterosexual men, because the chatbot was a lady and heterosexual relationships. And the idea was to engage with the chatbot, just to, like you would do on a dating app. And at one point in time, however, the chatbot would kind of reject, quote unquote, right? Would say,
Honestly, relatable. I feel like rejection it's a common part of dating.
yeah, it happens, especially on dating apps. Like the chance of being rejected on dating apps is incredibly high, right? And so, but the chatbot was planned to, at some point in time, say, this is not going to work into a romantic relationship. And the idea was to see what would happen at that point in time. Now, mind you, I'm a psychologist. We do these things ethically. So the persons were not left alone with the chatbot to deal with everything that comes with that. There was a therapist, and they would discuss with the therapist after every conversation with the chatbot about what happened, how they felt about it, what were the reactions they had, what happened in their emotions. And actually, what we saw, like the results were pretty interesting. For us, they were promising enough to maybe want to further test the model if you want.
I got a juicy question for you. There are people that criticize AI romantic tools as some sort of emotional substitute for human connection. I might be one of those people. How do you design something like this to act as a bridge to future human connection rather than a replacement? I mean, when we hear AI dating bot, we worry, okay, this person's going to think they're in a real relationship with the bot. How do we basically use tools like this to actually help people date and help people make real human connection?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, especially for me. I totally understand. I don't come from the generation of like AI. Like AI is like an older person, so AI is pretty scary for me in a way. But I think it's if we see it as a tool, like any other tools that we have, that could help someone overcome some relational difficulties and understand the complexities of relation and understand that rejection, unfortunately, is part of one's romantic life, I think it could achieve its purpose. However, only when it is used as the tool to go into real world relationships, not the end of the relationship itself. And so this is why we insisted on having like a therapist present, because the idea was to accompany the person into using that tool to understand what complexities and how to face rejection and deal with it so that in the real world experiences, they can overcome this difficulty.
Let's talk about the tool then. What are the ways in which it helped people who you were doing this test, this trial with? Did they feel less lonely? Did they feel less anxious, less distress when it came to dating? Were there any ways in which it didn't really work?
So it was just a pilot, right? So I don't think we can say that it works. I think we can say that it has showed some promising aspects. And those promising aspects were that some of the participants told us that at some point in time, they forgot they were talking to a chatbot. They felt emotions that they would feel when they're chatting with a real person. So what is good? There's a bad side to this, is the fact forgetting that you're talking to a chatbot. And this
Sure.
is the risky and slippery side, where it doesn't become the tool anymore. The good side is that they felt emotions they would feel with a real person, which says that we can work on those emotions. And they did feel anger. They did feel rejection. They did feel connected. So they did feel those emotions that you would expect them to feel. And based on the empathic response of the chatbot, there were some positive emotions that came in play as well. So which show us that the tool in some ways seemed to be working, but there is a slippery slope as well, in the sense that, you could completely forget. Some other people, smaller number of individuals, told us that they knew it was a chatbot, like from the beginning to the end. It didn't work much. So I think it still has those of promising aspects.
Well, Ghayda Hassan is a psychology professor at the University of Quebec in Montreal. Ghayda, I have enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much for sharing your research with me. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much. That was great.